Now we're going to show you some really old artifacts in this case. The little round whitish cylinders are actually dog tags from the Persian army. They're 3,200 years old. They have little family symbols on them. If a soldier went down in battle, they could at least get him to the family members. Ma'am, the little red block right back there where it says cuneiform writings, that's a 4,000-year-old grocery list in the Sumerian language. Can you imagine what you might send him in those days to buy? The little cone-shaped piece back here is 4,400 years old. And that's the oldest piece we have in the exhibit. And it's a Babylonian cornerstone with information about one of those buildings in that big walled city. This little red thing standing up is a copy of a flood tablet. We don't have the real thing. There's about 200 that have been found in the world. A lot of the stories of the flood tablets don't have the story that we know from the Bible, because they're just other civilizations of the world recording the story of a flood that does happen to fit the right time period. They were just backing up the stories we know that God did it. This also is a copy, and this is the scroll of Isaiah from the Dead Sea Scrolls. The longest book in the Bible was Isaiah. It was the only complete book found when they discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, starting in 1947. All of the pieces of the Old Testament that were found and were translated proves our Old Testament is still accurate. God is really supervising well. Okay. To the part about the Greek Septuagint, and that's going to be an important step because the Hebrew language is only understood by just a small part of the people. And Hebrew is going to be translated into Greek, which is the major written language for many centuries. Ptolemy is the king of Alexandria, and he wants to begin a big library with every written thing of the earth being included. And somebody tells him that the Hebrew writings are valuable and should be included. So he arranges for the Jewish leaders to get the 72 best translators of their day. These people were priests, they knew the language, 6 from each of the 12 tribes. They come to Alexandria and they work separately so he can compare their work and see if they really know how to do it. There's an accuracy there that convinces him, and so they continue on and they do work through the 5 books of Moses at first in 72 days, and that gets the Septuagint name. But he gets them to keep on working, and it doesn't all happen at once. They gradually work on through, and they get the entire Hebrew canon, which is Genesis through Malachi. That's when the Jewish people said God became silent. There was 400 years till the New Testament came along. But in those years later, there were Levite priests that also wrote some really good books. They had good intentions. They knew what they were doing. They're not radical books. They're called the Apocrypha of the Old Testament. These are also translated into Greek. Then there comes a time when the earliest organized church, the Catholic Church, wants that Greek into Latin because they have a Latin New Testament. They have decided their Bible is going to be in that language. And a man named Jerome, who's very well qualified, he works for 22 years putting the Greek Septuagint into Latin. And now there is one complete book in one language. And the one organized church is going to have that Bible for many years. They are going to control the use of that Bible and everything else. That early church does have a history of control.